What's up, YouTube, and hi, welcome to the channel. My name is Juju, and I'll be your host for today. In this video, we'll be going over all of the new neutral cards in the new Gods Unchained expansion, Mortal Judgment. If you want to see all the other videos that we did on the previous domains, feel free to do so. It should be in a playlist or in the channel. But yeah, so far with the set looks really fun. Not gonna lie, I think Nature had some really good legendaries. I'm personally excited to try Magic, see what Magic is all about during this set. Echo Magic looks interesting, as well as Garen, the red, Empower War, looks very fun and strong. Unrestrained Power is also one of those cards that kind of turned my head. In terms of Deception, the other deck I want to try is Deception, and that'll be the 20-sided Mace deck. That's a lot of value right there, and I think it's going to be a good time just trying out all these sets. That's why I love new sets. You get to try out new strategies, see how they work within the meta. Some of them aren't going to do well, some of them are going to do well, but it's looking like the power level of these cards are pretty strong. So I'm excited to see what comes out in the next coming weeks when the set gets released. But until then, we can only theorycraft, right? So we're going to go into all the new neutral cards, starting with our commons. Dream Shaman, number 1. So, Dream Shaman is going to be your 1 mana 2/2 Mystic Roar, heal a creature for 1 health. It's standard 1/1 stats, right? Usually one mana cards have 2/2. The effect is okay. It's not like amazing, but 1 health does make a difference sometimes. Especially if you're running a deck that revolves around heal. Maybe you're running like a heal light or something like that, that runs like CERN, High Thaumaturge, all that good stuff. But for the most part, it's a decent card. Doesn't really turn my head at all. Next up, we have Gleam Weaver. This is a 1 mana 2/2 Mystic as well. This has Roar, confuse an enemy creature. So giving Confuse to an enemy creature seems like it's a very underwhelming effect. Like if someone played Gleam Weaver against me and made my enemy creature confused, I wouldn't be like, oh my god, my strategy is totally like effed up, right? That's just the reality of the situation. I'm just gonna be like, okay, cool, my minion is confused now. I guess I just have to play around the RNG. You know what I mean? So this card can be good. Nah, it's not good. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's like mediocre at best. Like there's so many better 1-drops that you can play, especially at the slot. Moving on, City Sniper. 2 mana 2/1 Olympian, Roar, give -2 strength to an enemy creature until the end of turn. This kind of reminds me of all the cards that Deception got. Honestly, it's a card that you could include maybe in Light, maybe in Deception, of course in Deception, because there's some support there for it. But you can target a card, maybe use it. Just play this card, -2 strength from the creature, and then you can basically play Light's Levy or some other card that affects its strength, or needs that threshold, and then you can use that. But I don't know. It's pretty understated for a 2 mana minion. 2 mana 2/1 is not good stats. It's even if it's an Olympian. I don't like this card. It's probably trash. Moving on, we have Benevolent Soul. This is your 3 mana 4/2 Aether. Roar, give 1 strength to a friendly creature. So this is technically a 3 mana 5/2. Not bad. Especially if you're running like Aether support. I think this is okay. For the most part, though, 2 strength means that, or 2 health means that it trades with 1 mana minions, and that's not good. It could put you at a mana deficit early on in the game. So mediocre at best. Woods Hunter is next. This is your 4 mana 4/4 Amazon. Deal 1 damage to the weakest enemy creature. That's not bad. 4 mana 4/4 is a decent stat line. I prefer a 4 mana 4/5 because, 4 health leaves it vulnerable to stuff like Canopy Barrage, Blizzard Bolt plus God Power, Star Shard Bolt, all that good stuff, right? So it's kind of fragile in that sense, but maybe it's decent. I don't know. It seems just like a mediocre card to me. Next up, we have Dead Bodyguard. This is going to be your 1 mana 1/1. After this creature is summoned, summon a 1/1 skeleton. Okay, so it's a 1/1 2/2 worth of stats. It's also an Anubian, which is great. And it's conditioned to summon another skeleton isn't just a roar. So that means you can use Triad Necromancer. You can use all of the other new Nubian support, Nubian support that the Death domain got for the new expansion. You can also use that. So there's definitely some room to splash this in a Death deck for sure. Can also see play in other decks with other Anubian support, but for the most part, I think this is what you'd want to expect. Cool. Moving on, we have Sneaky Bruiser. This is your 6 mana 8/4 guild creature, hidden for 1 turn. This is pretty nice, honestly. For the most part, 4 health is still kind of fragile, even though it does have hidden. But damn, 8 strength is pretty good. Like if your opponent doesn't have any way to interact with hidden creatures, this can serve as a pretty big finisher. And I'm just thinking, like, what if you have a Merrick on board? Oh my god, yeah, if you have a Merrick, this and a Merrick on board, that's basically 16 damage worth in 1 turn, which is nice. So yeah, this is an interesting card for sure. I don't think it's going to see play, but could be wrong. I mean, hidden creatures are hard to interact with in this metagame, so we'll see if this ends up seeing play or not. The only downside too is it's 6 mana and you basically have to wait 7 turns to play, which I can't get with, but some people might be able to. Cool. So next up we have our 9 mana Cloudborn Aether Drake. This is your 13/13 with ward. It's also a dragon. So they're getting better at statting these 9 mana minions, which I really like, because so far the 9 mana minions are not properly statted, in my opinion. But with this set in particular, with all the 9 mana, even the 8 mana stuff, I'm just like, okay, cool. This is something I'd probably play, like at 9 mana. Don't get me wrong though, I probably wouldn't play this. I'd probably play like a Polyhymnia. That might be the better option at the 9 mana slot. And you don't want to load unless you're deliberately trying to play 9 mana creatures. Oh, you're playing a strategy that revolves around getting to 9 and summoning a crap ton of like 9 mana creatures. Then I guess that's okay. But yeah, typically you'd only want like 1 9 mana creature if you get that far. If you're running like a mid-range deck, it should probably be like a 7 mana creature, maybe 8, depending on the metagame, maybe 9, but I don't know. That's just my spiel on that. But good job to the devs for adding more stats to those 9 mana creatures, because I think that's one of the things that I saw with Gods Unchained that was kind of meh at the time. So yeah, great job, devs. Moving on to Encumbered Looter. These are our rare cards now. Oh, they're moving fast. So this is a 2 mana 1/1 guild creature, hidden for 1 turn. Afterlife, draw a card. So I don't know if I like this card, to be honest. I think it's okay. But 2 mana for 1/1 stats isn't really good. Even if you get to draw a card, Afterlife, you're not getting that effect right away, right? So it's hidden for 1 turn, 1. And then it gets Afterlife, draw a card. However, I will say that cards like Selfless Guildmate and the other cards make this a perfect target to buff and then trade. Like, that's something that could be an option it could be an option in certain situations. So there is some like use case for this card, but honestly, it's just, I don't know. Like, there might be so many better options in a deck that's trying to run, like, a guild and hidden creatures, right? So this would probably be, like, a niche choice. Cool, moving on to the next card, we have Inflator. 4 mana 4/4 Mystic. Really? It's not another? Okay, so it's a 4 mana 4/4 Mystic with the ability give 2/2 to a friendly creature. That's great. So the payoff is actually kind of good for this card, right? If this card stays alive, you get 4 mana 6/6 worth of stats. And that's way above the mana curve, which is great for 4 mana cards, excuse me. However, it has to survive. Not only that, because it's an ability effect, it can't attack. right? So it can't even do damage. So you're essentially, never mind. I changed my mind. It's kind of good, but yeah, I don't know. It's kind of good, but it's definitely like decent. It just throws me off that it's an ability and it can't attack. If this card could attack, it would be way better. Okay, moving on. Lethal Prowler, 5 mana, 5/5 wild. Can attack once per turn after a friendly creature attacks and the target survives. This creature also attacks that target. Okay, cool. So we get more support at the 5 mana wild slot. Yeah, that means something for Ominous Burrow, the 3 mana 1/4 in the Divine Order set, the Epic, right? So this could be an interesting use for it. It's kind of a bummer that it can't attack, so it'd be dead weight if your opponent didn't have any minions to kill. So yeah, I don't know how I feel about this card really. I think it's like not that very good. Cool. On to our epics now. We're moving through the list pretty fast, which is great. We have Lootable Corpse. This is your 1 mana 1/1 Anubian Afterlife. Randomly give 2 strength to a friendly creature. Okay, so this is another 1 mana Anubian that could be splashed in the Anubian death decks, probably running like Pharaoh's Heirloom or something like that. How do I feel about this? Well, if you can summon this regularly, this might be pretty good, right? Because after this thing dies, you randomly give 2 strength to a friendly creature. Maybe if you're running this in a domain with death, you can probably do like something like Untold Greed, Living Container, that kind of stuff to proc the Afterlife and then buff one of your minions. That's cool. So it's not a bad card. It could be splashed for sure. Only time will tell. Cool. Next up, we have Brink Watcher. This is your 2 mana 1/3. At the end of your turn, give 1/1 to this creature if a card left your void during the turn. Okay, cool. So this is another card that I feel like should fit in the new like 1 mana Anubian Death archetype, where you just resummon the 1 mana Anubians. If that's the case, then you can definitely play this card, and that's pretty good, honestly. Like it turns into on the turn you play it, if you've revived something, it turns into a 2 mana 2/4, which is definitely overstated. Maybe there's a way, and it doesn't seem like you have to resummon a creature from the void. Maybe it's you get something from your void into your hand using one of those effects. I know Light has a lot of those effects, so maybe it's something like that. But if you can reliably proc this on the turn you play it, then it's definitely a card to consider. And it just keeps growing from there, right? So there's definitely some synergy there. We have to look through all the cards again, but I know like Death and Light are definitely front runners to running this card in certain decks. Do I think it's going to be meta relevant? I'm not too sure. Probably not, just based on my perception on those strategies. But you never really know. I'm never going to discount the possibility of summoning a 2 mana 2/4 on turn 2, because that's really good in a game like Gods Unchained. Anyways, that's my rant about this card. I think it's okay. I think it has potential, but maybe the strategies that make the most out of this card need to get more support in the future for it to be worth. Cool. Moving on to Undertow Rover. This card is interesting. It's a 3 mana 2/3 Atlantean. At the end of your turn, give protected to a random other Atlantean. Okay, cool. So this combined with Phase Touched Golem, combined with Boost Walker, combined with all of the other Atlanteans, make me think that Atlanteans are going to be pretty good, even though they didn't get like crazy support. This set, they only got like 1 or 2 cards that support the Atlantean stuff, but this card in particular makes me want to run some sort of Atlantean aggro. And there are a lot of decks that can like support that, right? So Deception is one of them because Shadewalker is an Atlantean. Um, so I would watch out for this card because this card seems like a very good support card for the Atlantean class. So keep an eye out for Undertow Rover. Next up, we have Spawn of Caloran. This is Twin Strike. After this creature attacks, deal 2 damage to it. Okay, cool. So let's see. It's a 4-mana 4/7, and that's really good. It's a structure, so there's some synergy there with the structure archetype with magic. And it has Twin Strike. It can attack. So I think this is actually a pretty decent card. It's hard to judge, but if I had a situation where I would play this card on turn 4, I end up with a 4/7 that can attack my opponent's face and then trade with another minion and then possibly still be alive for the next turn for my opponent to either deal with or for me to trade into another minion. Because, yeah. So this seems like a very strong card. Yeah. Yeah, I actually think this is okay. I want to be more on the safer side, though. Like, I don't want to over-exaggerate, like, oh, this card is good unless it's really good. So, Undertow Rover is not an exception. I think Undertow Rover is amazing. But if I had to, like, rate Spawn of Caloran, I think I'd put it in, like, maybe a B tier. Like, this card is pretty good, but I don't know if it's worth including in decks, splashing in decks, unless the strategy revolved around it. So it'd probably be like structure, or maybe if I'm playing a mid-range deck and I need something at the 4 slot, I'm running probably Spawn of Caloran if there are no better options. However, like, it has to depend on the certain strategy and the domain, because if I'm running a mid-range deck and I'm playing Spawn of Caloran with light, that's actually good. I was going to say that wouldn't be good because you have to compete with things like CERN and the new core set refresh card, the 4-mana 2/5, I forget the name, and Highborn Knight, but this seems to be good in light as well. I don't know. That's interesting. Let's test this card out. Play this card in a mid-range deck and see how it works, because it seems like it's a strong card. Yeah. Okay, cool. All right. Next up, we have Distracted Conductionist. This is your 5-mana 5/6 Mystic. Can't attack. That's bad. At the end of your turn, deal 5 damage to the strongest creature. Okay. That's okay. Yeah, I don't like it. Can't attack. Yeah, it deals damage to the strongest creature, but what if this card is the strongest creature on board? Which could be possible, because if you're playing this on curve, you're at, and you've gone first. You're the first person to play a 5-mana minion in the game. Unless you're playing a nature deck that runs Ominous Burrow. And, yeah, it basically does damage to itself. So I don't really like this card. I think it's a trash epic. Cool. Now, on to the legendaries. This is going to be interesting. So we have Moramag, Bane of Black Isle. This is your 8-mana 8/8 dragon. Roar, if you have 8 cards or more in your hand, deal 8 damage to each enemy character. Okay, that's interesting. So these dragons are definitely geared towards the control archetype. So it's going to be interesting to see, like, which control decks can, like, work this type of card. How I feel about it, the condition is kind of hard. 8 cards or more in your hand means you're either playing a lot of cards with value, so cards that draw you more cards, or cards that generate cards, and then on top of that, you have to manage your hand to the point where you're not overdrawing in certain situations, so that's another thing you have to work out for. On top of that, you're waiting, 12 turns to play this card? It's 8 mana, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 9. Yeah, 8. 8 is 3. So yeah, that's right. You're waiting 12 turns to play this card, and I don't know if some games don't even last that long, to be honest. Cool. Moving on, next card, Ceres Arbiter of the Trial. So 5 mana 5/5 Aether. When you play a card with Echo, refresh 1 mana. Okay, so if you follow this channel, I like cards that manipulate mana, and this is no exception. I like this card. It's a 5 mana 5/5, decent stat line. When you play this card, or when you play a card with Echo, you refresh 1 mana. Essentially, you're able to play that card with Echo, right? And that's pretty good. It's a good tempo swing, honestly. Definitely going to see play in Echo Magic if that's a thing. So, and other decks that revolve around those Echo strategies. So, definitely something to look out for in the meta. Do I think it's great? I mean, there are a lot of dope minions in the game at the 5-drop slot, so maybe not, but it's definitely something to consider. Also, yeah, maybe it can find a place in Echo Magic more than Echo Nature, because Echo Nature is already running like a crap ton of 5 mana like creatures, but Echo Magic I feel would have a little bit more room, plus the creatures are cheaper, so maybe there'd be room at the 6 mana slot when you have 6 mana, or maybe 5 mana plus Bag of Tricks. You play the Ceres, then you play a 1 mana creature with Echo, so that you can play another 1 mana creature with Echo, and then that's a huge tempo swing. So, yeah, it's an interesting card for sure. Definitely we'll see play in Echo Magic. In Echo Nature, maybe, but we'll have to see. Maybe Echo Light could be a thing too. I'm not too sure. I haven't really thought about all the cards in like depth yet, but yeah. So definitely a card to look out for, especially with Echo strategies. I like it. I like the card for sure. Next up, we have Helmna, Spirit of Life. This is your 7 mana 2/9 Viking frontline. After a friendly creature is healed, this creature gains strength equal to the amount healed. Each friendly character is healed for 3. That's the roar effect. As I adjust my camera, let me check. Cool, awesome. So, 7 mana 2/9, understated, but then you heal a character for 3 based on the fact that this card is 7 mana and you have to wait 9 turns to play it. You've probably taken damage at this point, so it's at bare minimum, it's probably going to be a 7 mana 5/9. Which is decent with frontline, which is always good. I mean, I personally like the frontline and the fact that this card has 9 health, so that's amazing. 5/9 is a decent stat line, and there is potential for more, right? If you're running other cards, like I think this is an interesting card to include in a good amount of decks. Probably just this would be the top end option, but I don't know. I think it's a decent effect for sure. Next up, we have Nevos, Probing Archaeologist. So this is your 5 mana 4/5 Mystic. Okay, if you control an Atlantean, deal 3 damage to a random enemy character. Repeat this for Structure and Nether. Okay. So if there's a deck that has an Atlantean, a Structure, and Nether, it's pretty good, right? Other than that, this is a 5 mana 4/5, which is understated. But I'm trying to figure out like a situation where I can play an Atlantean, a Nether, and a Structure all together, right? Deception has access to those. Like the Hollow is a Structure, Shadewalker's an Atlantean. There are a couple of Nether cards in there. But in terms of how, like, this is pretty conditional. So I don't know if I like this card. I think, like, if there's a strategy out there that can reliably have those 3 types of characters, or even just like 2 on board, then yeah. Would I play this if I was just playing Atlanteans, or just playing Structures, or just playing Nethers? I mean, it's a decent effect. Don't get me wrong. I just, there might be better slots to fill in those decks. But if you don't have anything to run during the 5 slot and you're running like those type of cards, this is definitely an option to choose. I think it's okay. It's just understated as a 5-cost minion, but if you can get the effect off reliably, great. And if you can get the multiple of those effects off reliably, even better. That's like, I think if I could get 2 of those effects off, this card would be no question, like, I would play this card. But because of the conditions, I'm not too sure. But I could be wrong. Yeah, I could be wrong. So I like the card. I think it's decent and has potential. Do I think it's like game breaking? I don't think it like turns my head too much. Cool. Next up, we have Volkaz, Master of Pain. This is your 4-mana 3/3 Nether. At the end of your turn, deal 1 damage to each creature, then heal each creature for 1. Okay, so this card is definitely going to find a place in the new war decks. Well, those decks that but get buffed, those creatures get buffed every time they take damage. This is one of those times, right? At the end of your turn, deal 1 damage to each creature, then heal each creature for 1. That's actually not bad. And the fact that 4-mana 3/3 is understated, but it's decent. At the end of your turn, you deal 1 damage to each creature, then heal each creature for 1. The fact that you get to proc this effect always at the end of the turn you summon this card means you can always proc this with success, right? And that's great when it adds consistency to that. So this card is definitely going to see a place in war. I'm excited to see if that metagame develops or that like deck develops. Because I don't think the strategy is strong, but at the same time, like, man, this could definitely be a thing. Imagine if Patron Warrior was a part of Gods Unchained. This card would be freaking good. Okay, anyways, let's go ahead and move on. Oh, wait a second. There is a card that's similar to Patron Warrior. Whoa. There is a card that's similar to Patron Warrior. That's interesting. We'll keep an eye out for that card. But it isn't legendary. You can only run one of it, so it probably wouldn't be as consistent, but who knows? I'm just doing the thing. Cool. All right. Next up, we have Remnis, Unscrupulous Gate Mage. 9 mana, 9/9. Roar. Summon a random 9 mana creature for both players. All right. I don't like this card. Yeah, you can high roll, but yeah, you can low roll. And if I'm waiting basically the whole game to play a 9 mana creature, I should be winning the game at that point. This provides an opportunity for my opponent to win the game, and that's something I don't like. Like, imagine that situation. Like, summon the Remnis, you spend all your 9 mana, you summon an additional Remnis. Great. What does your opponent summon? I don't know. Your opponent summons, like, Polyhymnia or one of those, like, crazy other creatures, right? That's not good. So, I think the card is meme-worthy for sure and could provide some interesting experience within the game, but if I'm a competitive player, I'm not running this card at all. Next up, we have Kaya, Conduit of the Gods. This is a 6 mana 5/3. At the end of your turn, deal damage equal to your spent mana gems split randomly among all enemy characters. Okay, so this is great. I think this card is good. I would love for it to survive for more than one turn, but I don't think it would because it has 3 health, unless you do something to like either buff it or protect it. But I think this card is not bad of a card, really. And the fact that it could proc multiple times makes it a threat your opponent has to deal with right away. So I like the card. Next up, we have Cadence of the Infinite Sands. This is your 9 mana 9/9 ability. Unlock a mana lock. Refresh 9 mana. Draw a card. And your creatures gain God Blitz and Twin Strike. Oh. Yeah? Yeah, I like the card. I don't know how often we'd be able to get this off, though, because it's an ability effect, meaning it has to stay alive for one turn, and if both you and your opponent are at 9 mana, your opponent's probably going to have something to deal with this. Hopefully, right? But, hear me out. What if you find a way to discard this card, maybe via a card that, discards cards from your deck? I don't know. Maybe something along the lines of the Death class might have something like that. And then you just revive it using a card like Raise Dead. Right? That seems kind of fun. I don't know how reliable that strategy is, but damn, like that's not bad. So, I concur. maybe it's a possibility. Who knows? But it's definitely an interesting card. That's for sure. I would like to test that out if I ran like a big ramp death deck. Interesting. Cool, moving on. We have Madame Denholm to you. This is your 3-mana 1/2 killed creature hidden. At the end of your opponent's turn, summon a 1/1 rogue skulker. Man, I'm so weird sometimes. So, what do I think about this card? Well, it's hidden, which is good. 3-mana 1/2 is not a good stat line. Guild creature is okay. At the end of your opponent's turn, summon a rogue skulker. So, this card stays alive, assuming that your opponent doesn't have any way to interact with hidden creatures, right? You end up with a rogue skulker at the beginning of your turn that can attack. That's not bad. So that's something to consider. I would definitely think about this if I'm running a guild deck, for sure. Like maybe a Hidden Rush Deception guild. This is something to consider, for sure. Cool. Moving on, we have the Pools of Nemesis. This is a 4-mana 1/3 structure. Summon a copy of a creature. Ability, summon a copy of a creature. Okay, cool. This would be a lot stronger if it was Roar, but because it's an ability, it has to survive for 1 turn and then use its ability. Can it survive for 1 turn? No. 1-mana 1/3, or it's a 4-mana 1/3. Basically, your opponent can sneeze on this. At this point in the game, at 4 mana, your opponent can sneeze on this and be okay with it. So you essentially just, lost 4 mana and wasted a turn. So yeah, I don't think this card is good. There might be some meme implications. Maybe there's a way to just play maybe a discounted Vow of Learning, and then have some way of surviving for the next turn, right? Maybe it's like a helpful Aether Fox into a Vow of Learning, discount that, next turn play the Pool of Nemesis, play the Vow of Learning, and then next turn copy a Dralamar and Archimea. Ooh. That sounds pretty nutty, but it's a lot harder to execute than it is easier to say, right? So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think the card has potential, but honestly, if I'm just playing this raw, it doesn't feel good. Yeah, in a vacuum, I don't think this card is pretty weak. Cool. Next up, we have Dolvaz, Omen of Ill Will. This is your 3-mana 1/1 Nether. At the start of your turn, double this creature's strength and health. Afterlife, pull this creature to your hand and set its strength and health to 1. Okay, cool. So at the start of your turn means that, first off, 3-mana 1/1, definitely understated. It's a Nether, so maybe there's some support there. But at the start of your turn, so because it's at the start of your turn, it has to survive 1 turn in order to get to 2, attack and health. That's not good, right? So you'd have to buff this card first, then play it, then at the start of your turn, double whatever that buff is, right? So I don't know, but it gets better the more you buff it. So that's something to consider for sure, especially if you're running a deck with a lot of buffs or that naturally buffs a lot of creatures. Maybe it's an Out of Its Misery, so that you draw into the Dolvaz and this becomes a 3-mana 4/4, and then you play it as a 3-mana 4/4, and then your opponent has to deal with an 8/8 the next turn if they don't deal with it right now. So that's this is something to consider, especially if you're buffing things, right? So keep an eye out for this card in buff decks. Other than that, I don't see it seeing play in decks that don't run buffs. Cool. And last but not least, we have Gariel, Bolster of Souls. So this is a 3-mana 2/3 Aether with the ability effect, double the strength and health of a friendly creature. Okay, cool. So again, how I feel about ability effects, they have to stay alive for the next turn. So the question for this card is, will this card stay alive the next turn after I play it? And I don't think so. It's a 3-mana 3 or it's a 3 mana with 3 health, meaning it's vulnerable to Canopy Barrage, Star Shard Bolt, Tracking Bolt, Blizzard Bolt. What else? Hunting? No, not Hunting Trap because it has 2. Sleep. Sleep Dart is okay. Like, I guess Deception doesn't really have an opportunity, a way to deal with it. Mugging is one. What else? That it's Light's Levy is one. Wrong Path is one. Yeah, there's just so many. Blight Bomb is one. There's just so many things that can kill this card. So I don't think it can survive unless you add like protected support, like a Vow of Learning or something like that. But in general, you want your cards to be able to like stand by themselves, unless it's a broken effect. Like the Pools of Nemesis, I can kind of see happening because it's a broken effect if you use its ability on like a certain minion, right? So yeah, I don't know. This card definitely seems like decent, but it requires additional cards to be better. You know what I mean? So cool. And that's pretty much it with our series, our Mortal Judgment set review series, right? These are all the neutral cards. How I feel about the current set right now, it's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun time. Front runners so far, definitely Empower War, Undertow Rover. I think aggro guilds, Deception is going to be a thing. I'm also looking forward to see how the Echo archetypes do. So Echo Nature, Echo Magic, Echo Light, yeah. But there a lot of things like really stood out, and I'm thinking, I'm loving how the devs are raising the power level of the game, because personally I like playing powerful things, even if my opponent gets to play powerful things too. I think it creates like a very dynamic game experience, right? But in terms of what I think are really good neutral cards, so top neutral cards, Undertow Rover for sure. Ceres is an interesting card. Volcaz is definitely something I want to test out. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Dolvaz is going to be an interesting thing too. If it's a build around for sure. Imagine if this thing was the chosen one. Oh crap. Okay. Yeah, but that's pretty much it. Thanks y'all for tuning in. If you liked the video, please go ahead and like the video. If you like the content, please subscribe to the channel. And if I missed anything, please leave your thoughts in the comments below. Also, I just wanted to give a heads up. Like, I've been trying to tweak the audio. I've been getting a lot of feedback that, the audio has been low at times and stuff like that. So at any time during this video, if you think the audio is low, please feel free to let me know in the comments so that we can kind of fix it, right? I'm still trying to adjust all the settings. Yeah, I'm not too sure why this is the case. I might just be a soft talker, but if I'm talking at this volume and it's okay, please let me know. If I'm too loud because I did adjust the settings, let me know too, right? So yeah, thank y'all for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Hope you guys have a blessed weekend, and see y'all next time. Peace.